This is the show where we run you through all the Dolphins news you need to know about. Remember, guys, this podcast posts each and every single Sunday, so if you like that, please go check out the channel. We have tons of Dolphins content for your listening pleasure. And remember to support if you can. So this first news story comes from Dolphins Wire. Penalties are once again the theme for Dolphins versus Panthers. And we're really going to dive deep into this one, ladies and gentlemen. Penalties, 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 and more penalties. This comes from Dolphins Wire again. Were the theme in the Dolphins' 27-20 loss to the Panthers. The Dolphins committed 8 penalties for 68 yards, and their setbacks doomed many drives. Last week against the Buccaneers, the Dolphins were equally as lousy penalty-wise as they committed 7 of them for 52 yards. Leading up to the game, the Dolphins coaching staff said their players needed to clean up the penalties. They even made Juwan James run a lap after he committed a false start during practice. It appeared the Dolphins still have a lot of work to do in that area. Let's see here. The Dolphins recorded only a garbage time touchdown late in the game. Jason Sanders. Okay, this is just a summary of what else happened. So, focusing on the penalties, this is something that we've dealt with since Adam Gase got here. It's been a big issue. And one of the reasons I was so excited for and why I believed in the trades that were happening, not just because of the locker room issues, I mean, we're not even going to get into that because we could all go down that road for a very, very long time. But one of the arguments for the trades were that Adam was going to get his guys that would run the offense more smoother, everything would work better, and so far we're not seeing that in preseason, which is not good. Because I really did think this would be the remedy to it. It doesn't really seem that way, although we still have some of the same players on this team that were so crucial in committing those penalties. When you talk about Juwan James, Laramie Tunsil, I think Laramie led the team in penalties last season. Laramie's not, I don't think he's committed a penalty so far this preseason. Juwan has committed quite a few. But yeah, it's everything. I mean, some of the calls were so like, there was one call that was really tic-tac. I mean, the pass interference call was super tic-tacky. I mean, you see that play almost every single Sunday, and it's rarely called. I mean, I guess it just really depends on who's officiating the particular game. But some of them were ticky-tacky, but most of them, almost all of them, and don't get me wrong, were legit. So it is an issue. I mean, we can't run that stretch play to save our lives. I don't know why, but every single time we run it to Juwan's side, it's a holding call. He cannot. He just can't, for some reason, play his position in the running game without holding someone. When a stretch goes his way, it's the most frustrating thing in the world. So then we're left with the question: how in the God's name do we fix it? If I'm being honest with you guys right now, I don't know. I think there's a lot of different things you could bring. Like, you could say, well, I mean, I guess the biggest argument would be that, I mean, I would just take some of these plays out of the book, out of the plan just in general. I think I mean, obviously it's been 3 years, so it's like trying to force a square into a round peg. It's just not going to work. I mean, you just got to match personnel with plays, man. Some of these plays players struggle with. Now, on some of these pass interference calls, holdings, and delay of games, that's totally different. But most of these holding calls are obviously in the running game. Some of these plays maybe we should take out of the book, like the stretch play. Even though Kenyon spun out of one, which still was a negative play, and gained, I don't know, like 30-some. It was a ridiculous play by Kenyon, but I don't know if we should take some of these plays out of the book, even though some of these are staples in this offense. When you talk about bootlegs, are pretty much dependent on the success of that particular run, because the defense flows all in one way, and then you fake it, and then you run and then the action of the play action goes to the completely opposite side of the field. So you're not going to have a good play action game if you can't get some of those runs going. So it's a whole conundrum, guys. We need to fix this. I don't know how the heck we're going to fix it. Maybe this is just an inherent problem with Juwan James, some of the players that are on this team. Maybe he needs to get benched at some point. I don't know. Maybe we need to put somebody in there that can get the job done. He's a good player, don't get me wrong, but if he's going to continue to make these kind of mistakes, then either we switch schemes and never run to his side, because that might be something. Something needs to be done. But that particular play frustrates me the most. So yeah, the penalties, I really don't, I couldn't put my finger on, one particular thing other than the fact that, again, like I said at the beginning of the show, the argument for those, the J.J. trade, the Jarvis Landry trade, and some of the other moves that we've made since Adam Gase has been here was that he was going to get his players that could run the offense and then match personnel with playbook. So far, we're not seeing that, which is a very frustrating thing. It's frustrating to watch. Every big play gets called back. It's very, very, very frustrating. So yeah, and we're going to get to the offense at greater detail later in the show, but we have to keep going, man, because I don't want to get stagnant on some of the same things here. This next news story comes from the Phinsider. A fan's perspective of the Dolphins' second preseason game. Again, this comes from the Phinsider. The Dolphins had their second preseason game on Friday night in Carolina. We lost 20-27. Like I mentioned last week, the winner of this game is meaningless. These games are opportunities to possibly test out some plays from training camp and for the players to show what they got on the team at the end of the season. Collectively, as a team, the Dolphins struggled. However, several individual players made some definite impacts on the game and shined like a lighthouse. The good. There were several players to choose from, but I narrowed mine down to 3 top players from Friday's game. Ryan Tannehill has to be my first mention. I saw a quarterback come out that was decisive, accurate, and played with confidence. Honestly, watching him play and not knowing anything about him, I would have had a hard time believing he came from having a year off of major surgery. He completed 100 yards, 14 of 17 passes. I'm not going to read this entire thing because this is obviously opinion. This is by Kat Noah from NOA from Phinsider. I feel like it's creeping plagiarism at this point, me reading this. So basically, his top performers from this are Ryan Tannehill, or hers, or Kenyon Drake. Let's see here. Where's the third? Ryan Tannehill, Kenyon Drake. And it's taking a while to get. I'm assuming Robert Quinn. So yeah, I would agree with that. Again, if you guys want to go read that, it feels just weird reading that all that off. I should have vetted that before having it. But yeah, I do agree with that. I thought Robert Quinn had a great game. I think he had 2 sacks. He had a few pressures. And everybody hating on my dude Robert coming in. As long as he stays healthy, I mean, the dude's one of the best pass rushers, especially 4-3. I mean, the 4-3 pass rusher is almost dead when you think about all the great pass rushers in the league right now. They're basically all 3-4 players, so Robert's definitely a unicorn at this point. So, yeah, it's good to see that he still has it. And so far, again, like I said, all he has to do is really stay healthy, and he should be fine. And he'll still be one of the more dominant pass rushers. Tannehill has looked sharp since the first preseason. I mean, he's been balling since training camp started. He's been balling since OTAs started. I mean, the man's on a mission. If you just watch him talk, the way, and you could see that he has a sense of urgency, and he wants. I think he's sick and tired of it all, to be honest with you. So, I think, and then obviously he's happy to be back. So yeah, Tannehill's kicking tail, and Kenyon Drake looks like Kenyon Drake. I guess I don't know what else we expected to see out of him, but I guess it's good to. I don't know. I mean, the players that played well are not surprising. Tannehill, Quinn, and Kenyon Drake. Those are all prolific players and have proven it on the National Football League level. Kenyon proved it last year, leading in the league in rushing for those final few games, and then just completely balling out. Tannehill, obviously, some people don't think that. I do, and Quinn, obviously. What he had, I think he had almost a 20 sack season, or very close to it. And I don't think he won Defensive Player of the Year that year, but he should have. So yeah, it's good to see though. I think the main takeaway from that, it's good to see Quinn play well. This next news story comes from Sun Sentinel. Frank Gore likely to make his Dolphins debut Saturday night against the Baltimore Ravens. That's basically all we're gonna read from that. I thought, yeah, which is good. I mean, this is obviously the dress. If I can pronounce this right, dress rehearsal. It's very late when I'm recording this game, and it's very important. I love that it's against the Ravens, dude. I love this. It's so good that this team has bothered us for years. I mean, they've literally stopped us from making the playoffs 2 times out of Tannehill's career, if you think about it. I mean, they literally just smacked us upside the head a couple times. on the playoffs doorstep. That and the Bills have been the monkey wrench in our plans for the last 10 years. So it's good to kind of, this is a good gauge to see how much this team has improved from last year, I feel like, and especially Tannehill. Tannehill has struggled against this defense. Well, I guess earlier in his career he didn't, but as of late he has against this particular defense, and it's because their pass rush has always been so good, and the O-line for us, historically, since Tannehill has been here, has not been very good, and I think that has a lot to do with it. So it's going to be interesting to see how we stack up against this particular team, especially since the starters are going to play well. They're going to play the entire first half at least, and so yeah. So it's no surprise that Frank Gore is going to play. Hopefully, he doesn't play that much. We know who Frank Gore is. Obviously, he's a Hall of Famer. We don't need to see him play an extended period of time, because God knows if he got hurt, I mean, that would obviously suck. So hopefully that, but again, I think it's going to be a good gauge. This next news story: run defense remains an issue as Dolphins move closer to the regular season. This comes from CBS Miami. The offseason is generally when teams hope to address and fix their biggest issues from the previous year. Adam Gase says the Miami Dolphins' run defense will be better than it was in 2017. The preseason says otherwise. Miami's allowed 299 yards rushing in the first two expedition games. That includes 226 yards Friday at Carolina and 71 one-play touchdown run by Christian McCaffrey on the second snap of the night. The leaky ground defense is especially worrisome because the same problem contributed greatly to a 6-10 finish in 2017. I'm going to add a little tidbit in there. We also had a terrible run defense in 2016, still made the playoffs. Terrible defense just in general, to be honest with you. The Dolphins gave up over 170 rushing yards 3 times during a 5-game losing streak that sent the season south. Despite evidence to the contrary, Gase says the run defense is improved. He said, quote, "I can see how it's starting to come together," he said Sunday. The front seven is still adjusting to the loss of the 5-time Pro Bowl tackle and Ndamukong Suh, and that's where I'm going to ask everybody to hit the brakes. Stop the bus. First of all, I've seen this, and I want to throw something through a window. First of all, it has nothing to do with Suh's loss, for God's sakes. When the man was here, we couldn't defend the run. I mean, we were terrible. If we're being honest right now, and let me tell you something right now, if we're being honest right now, there were plays where Suh took plays off. If you go, and I know we're getting our tails kicked in, and I get that, but there were certain plays that Suh just, I mean, my God, the man was not Suh on certain plays. And I love Ndamukong. He gave us great, and it wasn't like he wasn't a maximum effort guy at all. It's not what I'm saying. But the fact that people remember Suh as this, like, God, he was Buddha himself, this chubby, great man that just blessed us all with his great knowledge of the world and the galaxy and death. That's not what happened, okay? Suh was not that. Suh was a great player, but as a team, we never brought it together. Period. End of story. So it has nothing to do with Ndamukong Suh's departure. I'm sorry to tell everybody that. And as far as the run defense goes, we played one of the best running offenses of the last 10 years against the Carolina Panthers. Does that make it okay? No, it doesn't. But they are really good at what they do. So I'm not going to sit here and say that it's not a problem, because it is, and it's something that we've talked about for many moons now. One thing I will say about the whole, I mean, other than the 70-yard run, for the most part, the starting offense for the Panthers really, I mean, they had a lot of down and distances. And I thought the defense looked pretty good overall, other than, letting up the one big touchdown. And people make mistakes, Is it going to be a thing that's, constant and is a consistent issue? I hope not. But other than that 70, and it sounds so stupid to say this, other than the 71-yard run, the run defense looked pretty solid all around. The defense looked pretty solid all around. I mean, we just struggled with open field tackling on some of these drives, and obviously a penalty. If it wasn't for a penalty, and let's not even get in. Oh God, I don't even want to get into the Ian Thomas touchdown run. But we're first. I cannot stress this enough. I can't even tell you guys. I mean, TJ McDonald got straight up burned. Basically, we got lost in the trash on that play, to be honest with you. I just think players, I'm not going to say they filled the wrong gaps, because they did. They didn't. I just don't think they could get off blocks, to be honest with you. But again, listen, I cannot. The reason our run defense over the last 5 years, I'll say this, has been so bad is because of the linebacker core, and you could say scheme as well. I mean, the wide 9 defense. I mean, it's called the wide 9 defense. There's some gaps there, and it really relies on your linebackers, being good and being able to fill said gaps. And that's why draw plays work so well. And I digress. The point is, I really can't tell you. I mean, I think we have a good linebacker core this year. I don't think it's a bad one, other than Stephon Anthony completely embarrassing himself in this particular game. I mean, he completely embarrassed himself. Just on this game alone, he shouldn't even see the starting lineup again in practice at all. It should just be Jerome Baker. Prepare the rookie for a starting role. I could care less about competition. I could care less about. He's clearly better than Stephon Anthony. I mean, he played better than him. He's not even played in a regular season game yet, and Jerome Baker played better than Stephon Anthony in a preseason game against lesser competition. Okay, so that should be evidence enough to start Jerome Baker. Anyway, I don't even know why I'm getting on this tangent right now. The point is the run defense, I think it's being exaggerated of how bad they were, and Sue has nothing to do with this. And I swear to God, if I have to, I'm not saying it's not a problem. I hope it's not. But again, you guys heard the points that I brought up. The Panthers are really good at what they do. And to be honest with you, I think it was one lucky play. It wasn't like they were gashing us every single down, for God's sakes, with runs. And we've seen that in the past. Now, if I actually prepared at a very high level for this podcast, I would have had game logs for you guys to go down each drive that the starters had for the Panthers. I'm telling you guys right now, it wasn't like the running game. The reason they scored the second touchdown was because of a flag. It was because of a flag and a busted coverage. It had nothing to do with the running game. That was also on a third down on that busted coverage. The third was they had 2nd and 13 at one point on that same drive. They dumped it down to McCaffrey. He gains 15 yards because Kiko takes a bad angle to the crapping ball. So it has nothing to do. I think it has more to do. I wasn't so upset at the defense because the things that they messed up could be easily fixed, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. But if you guys want to know, I mean, I hope it's not. I hope it's not a problem this year. I really do. I don't think it will be. We just got to. I really don't. I hope it's not. The Ravens are going to be a good test of that. Breaking down Ryan Tannehill from an outsider's perspective. I don't think we're going to look at this one, guys. I mean, I guess we could. So this is John R. Kinsley's crapping opinion. We're not, you know what, this art, I haven't read this, but reading the first 2 words, I'm already like, dude, this is not good content. So we're not gonna go there. If you guys want to read that, it's on Dolphins Wire. If it sounds interesting to you. This next news story comes from Dolphins Wire. Most of these news stories do. Kendall Langford, not to be confused with Jeremy Langford, impressed coaches in Dolphins return. The Dolphins signed Kendall Langford last Tuesday to add depth to their defensive line. Last Friday, Langford not only traveled to Charlotte for the first preseason game against the Panthers, but he played in limited duty. Dolphins coach Adam Gase told reporters on Sunday Langford was a player he had been keeping his eye on for a while. Langford, who initially played for the Dolphins from 2008 to 2011, saw action against the Panthers on Friday night. He finished the game with 2 tackles and 18 snaps. Last season, Langford began the year with the Saints. He was cut early in October. A week later, the Texans signed Langford, but he was released on November 7th after appearing in just 1 game. Not much to this story. William Hayes really vouched for the guy. So we'll see. William Hayes. People forget about Will Hayes. I don't know if he played that much in that. Was he even? Let me know in the comment section below. Was William Hayes in there for the 71-yard touchdown? Because I don't think he played in this game. I don't think he did. I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure he didn't. Who's our best run-stuffing defensive lineman? And Sue's just getting on my eyes. God, Sue, son. Alright, this next news story comes from NFL Analyst Network, ladies and gentlemen. NFL Analyst Network, because we've all heard of that one before. 3 Miami Dolphins candidates to break out in the 2018 NFL season. Again, let's see here. The 2018 Miami Dolphins roster is a far cry from the squad that fielded in 2017 between trading away, oh my god, Ajayi midseason, Jay Cutler retiring again, and Ryan Tannehill joining the team, bringing in the number of talented free agents and the year influx of youth that is the NFL draft. There are plenty of candidates for breakout performances. Let's see here. So here are the 3 breakout performances. Torrey McTyer. If you've watched, so this is one of them. If you've watched the NFL for any amount of time, you've really heard the old adage: offensive wins games, defensive wins. You hear, okay. Anyway, that's especially true of today's pass-happy NFL. The team isn't going anywhere if you can't defend the pass, and you can't have too many good cornerbacks. The Miami Dolphins have struggled at the position at times since the departures of Sam Madison and Patrick Surtain, but it finally seems like they figured it out. Okay, I could disagree with this more. Torrey's actually disappointed me since he's played in preseason. I totally disagree with that. The next one is Jakeem Grant. I agree with this. I feel like he's had a good preseason so far. Yeah, I would agree with that. And then last but not least, my boy number 17, Ryan Tannehill. If you've surveyed most NFL analysts, you'd likely find Ryan Tannehill ranked somewhere between 15 and 20 on the list of starting quarterbacks in the league. In all honesty, I don't think it's an unfair assessment at this point in his career. Tannehill has to put up some impressive numbers before breaking some of Dan Marino's rookie records in the process, but in today's NFL, numbers are easier to come by than they were in bygone eras. Ultimately, quarterbacks are judged upon success or failure of their teams, and by the measure, Tannehill comes up short so far. Since coming into the league, Tannehill's, we get it. We know the 37-40. We get it. So yeah, I mean, to be honest with you guys, he's played better than anybody that I've seen on offense. Excuse me, guys. I apologize for that. The burp into the mic. I'm sure that sounded disgusting. But yeah, he's played better than most of the offensive players. To be honest with you. I think second is probably Kenyon. So yeah, oh god, here we go. This is the story that I think I've been most wanting to talk about. Dolphins backup quarterback competition providing no clear-cut leader. This comes from Dolphin Wire. After the first 2 weeks of the preseason, the battle for the right to back up Dolphins quarterback Ryan Tannehill this season doesn't have a clear-cut leader at the moment. David Fales outperformed Brock Osweiler during the first week of the preseason against the Buccaneers. Then during the second preseason game against the Panthers, Osweiler was the better... Osweiler was the better of the 2 quarterbacks. You've got to be kidding me. Stop the bus, dude. Stop it. Turn it off. Let me tell you something right now, ladies and gentlemen. I have never in my life been so bored in a Dolphins game, let alone a Dolphins preseason game, in my entire life. The second unit of this Dolphins offense and the third unit could not have been worse. Who knew on planet Earth that as a Dolphins fan I would be happy to see Bryce Petty come in at quarterback for the Miami Dolphins? Who knew that would ever happen? But you know what, ladies and gentlemen? It did. Oh, it did. Because Captain Checkdown Brock Osweiler and David Fales, who has, I mean, what was that? You talk about dropping the ball. There's not much you had to do, David, to go out there and outplay Brock, whose favorite target was a running back. I mean, are you kidding me? Because that's all I could think about watching Brock Osweiler and David Fales is, are you kidding me? All they did, and the Panthers commentator said, and I was watching it with my brother, he said, dude, he's going to make the roster just because of Brock Osweiler. Because you're going to look at the stat line and say, man, this running back had a ton of receptions. For little yards, but a ton of targets, a ton of receptions. Most of his passing attempts went to the running back on checkdowns, ladies and gentlemen. And it's the same for David Fales. And believe it or not, it wasn't like they were getting sacked constantly. They weren't getting pressured. They had enough time to push the ball down the field. There's an old saying that I've always thought. You have to make DBs work. If you don't, then what the heck is the point? They didn't make any cornerback work at all. They didn't attempt any passes downfield. They looked god awful. They looked god awful. I mean, I can't think of a better term other than. I mean, it was so bad, guys. It was so bad. Watching that game, because my brother is a huge Panthers fan. I turned to my brother, and I said to him, how in the God's name, probably the greatest robbery in human history, did some owner in the National Football League pay Brock Osweiler $100 million, or was $70 million, whatever it was, almost $100 million of cold hard cash, ladies and gentlemen, cold hard cash. My point is Brock Osweiler and David Fales are god awful. They should be embarrassed that I don't even care. Listen, dude, you could have thrown 2 picks. I would have been much more happy with that than continuously checking it down. And that's what everybody appreciates about Brett Favre, is at least he takes chances. That's why it's fun to watch him over somebody like Alex Smith, who never does anything spectacular. That's the dip, dude. It's honestly, it was so hard to watch. And Bryce Petty deserves to be the second string quarterback. It's not even close. It's not even close. At least when he came into the game, he attempted to push the ball down the field. And, people forget Bryce Petty has starting experience in the National Football League. He's actually won an NFL game. Granted, it was against San Francisco. I think he's won more than one as the Jets starting quarterback. It's not like this guy is some, terrible quarterback. He looked good in both preseason games. Both preseason games, he drive the team down for touchdowns. That's something that Brock and David have failed to do since they've been in these preseason games. So I think listen, I don't even care if it's against lesser competition. If I'm Adam, I'm like, all right, clearly you're out playing, idiot 1 and idiot 2 over here. So let's put him in. And you know what? Listen, it's honestly just sickening to watch these two play. And I'm not even exaggerating that. It makes me upset to watch that. As a Dolphins fan that has been watching this team and supporting this team for my entire life, to sit there and have to put myself through something like that is honestly ridiculous, okay? It's honestly ridiculous. We deserve better than that. I hope they play better than that down the road. I honest to God doubt it, okay? I honest to God doubt it. I could talk about these two idiots for 20 minutes straight and just ranting and raving about them. But yeah, I think if I'm Adam right now, off of sheer performance, I don't care about the names of the players, Bryce Petty deserves it. And it's not even close. He actually looked like a quarterback. And I'm not even saying an NFL, just a quarterback. These two look like kickers trying to be a quarterback. It's so frustrating, dude. It is so frustrating to watch that kind of... and it's not even Adam's fault, dude. When all you do is sit here like, oh, I'm not going to make... You think, the old Bill Walsh thing is competition breeds excellence. What the heck are these two? I mean, if this is what the most excellent they can be, then it's so annoying. Oh God, these two are the three. It's the two Stooges, guys. That's the third Stooge is actually better than the other two Stooges. Doesn't mean that they're not all three Stooges, though. God dang it, dude. This is what we have to deal with now because we didn't want to go at. This is what we have to deal with now because we didn't go after a backup quarterback. And people are like, oh, we'll trade Jarvis Landry for a 4th round pick, but we won't draft a quarterback in the 6th, 5th, or 7th round. That's ridiculous, dude. That's ridiculous, bro. It's ridiculous. We'll give up draft picks left and right for Kiko Alonso and Byron Maxwell, but we want, JHI gets traded for next to nothing because Howie Roseman and Mike Tannenbaum are, quote, friends. That actually is a thing that happened. That's the reason he was traded to the Eagles, but it's just, but we won't go out and get somebody who can actually be a half-decent quarterback. It's disgusting, dude. It's disgusting. Alright. I know that was a huge rant, but that was the end of the news, so there you go. That was the rant of the day. We usually have one rant each episode. That was this rant for this episode. I wanted to rant about Cordrea Tankersley, to be honest with you, and some of the just god-awful cornerback play that's been bestowed upon us. But It's honestly, I've used up all my energy at this point. All right, so let's get into the fan Q&A. If you guys are not aware of the fan Q&A, you can participate in the fan Q&A each and every single week. If you subscribe to the channel, you will get the little fan Q&A thing where you can put in your questions, your comments, and concerns for the Miami Dolphins. So yes, so if you're interested in that, go check out the channel. Of course, if you've been listening for 30 minutes of me talking, you've probably are a long-time listener, so God bless you. God bless your heart. God bless your heart. All right, let's get into the fan Q&A. This first question comes from Trap Pack. He says, "Do you think Mika should start at safety over McDonald?" Yes, I've never been a fan of this lineup with Mika in the slot ever since they've been talking about it since we drafted him. I think it's just a waste of his talent. I think he'll be more successful at the free safety position. His intelligence, his athletic ability just scream safety to me, and he obviously did it at a high level at Alabama. And I'm not saying he wasn't a good slot corner either at Alabama, but I just feel like that's where he's best suited, and that's where we're going to get the best Minka Fitzpatrick. And not to mention, it makes it even dumber because we have Bobby McCain on the roster, who's a tremendous slot corner, who did not do a terrible job at cornerback on the outside. He gave up, I think, 1 reception, which was it was the dumbest thing. Anyway, the point is yeah, I'm not a huge fan of that lineup. I think it's a terrible lineup. I'm a fan of TJ being a linebacker and obviously putting Minka at free safety, putting Bobby back in his rightful position. Now, who the heck is going to play next to Xavier Howard? I mean, that's really up in the air at this point. I really hope Tony Lippett gets healthy soon. Cordrea has disappointed the balls out of me. I mean, he's been so disappointing. You know, you see him get burned on some of these later in these preseason games. You think, oh my god, he's getting burned by like a 7th string receiver. I mean, that was Curtis Samuel's 2nd round pick from 2 drafts ago. So it's not like he was getting destroyed by some like hobo. But granted, yeah, to answer your question, Trap Back, should we start Minka over McDonald? Yes. But it's really just because I feel like, not only that, I just feel like it's just a better lineup, in my opinion, just moving TJ to either, I think, just moving the linebacker. Trap Pack says, "Do you think Jerome Baker will win the starting position?" Yeah, to me, he's already won it. I mean, he's outplayed Stephon Anthony, clearly outplayed. He's outplayed Kiko. He's outplayed everybody at this point. I mean, the man's been the best linebacker on the team over the last 2 preseason games, which I think nobody would have predicted that. And granted, he's won against lower competition, but Stephon Anthony did too, and he played terrible. I mean, he played absolutely terrible. Absolutely terrible. I mean, he missed TJ. To me, that, you know, when players give 0 effort on a tackle, it really, especially a player who's trying to make the roster. There was the play where it was C.J. Anderson and Stephon. By the way, C.J. Anderson looks like he's been eating McDonald's way too much. But C.J. Anderson and out of shape C.J. Anderson and Stephon Anthony in the hole, and Stephon Anthony literally like a dodo bird plants his head in the ground. That's his tackling method. I mean, it's just frustrating to watch. So yeah, I think Jerome Baker definitely at this point should, on the depth chart, definitely should be the starter. Gamerific says, "If you were the general manager, the head coach, or any coordinator, what decisions would you make for the Dolphins' almost disgusting roster?" I don't think it's a disgusting roster at all. I like the way it's being built. I think some of the personnel on defense are being misused, and that's coaching. That has nothing to do with personnel. But if I had to change anything, if I was the owner, if I was the general manager, or someone who makes the decisions, I would have definitely sat Adam Gase down and said, "Listen, Matt Burke did not do a good job. He was a rookie coordinator, I know, and I love when people make that excuse. Oh, he did bad because he was a first-year coordinator. Yeah, that's not a good enough excuse for me. I could sit here, Romeo Cornell, Bill Belichick. I mean, we could go down the list, and again, those are, you know, outstanding. Wade Phillips, Don Capers. I mean, there's so many people in the NFL's history that have done just fine their first year. And it's not just those guys. There's many, many more. But the point is what I would have done is just sat Adam down. And the question is, if I was in a position of power in that organization, I would have been like, "Listen, we have to hire a veteran coordinator. This is just not working. And I could have told you that last year. So I think it's very clear that this team, especially on defense, needs a vision, and clearly it doesn't have it right now because Matt Burke just continues to switch people around like, oh. So that's that's something he wants to do. Trap Pack says, should we keep McCain on the outside? And that's basically what I would change. Gamer. Trap Pack says, should we keep McCain on the outside or move him back to the slot and go find a quarterback through trade or free agency? Yes. I don't think we need to go find a corner. I don't think it's that bad. I think Tony Lippett can do just fine against every 2 in the league if he gets healthy. If he gets healthy. And I think if we have to wait that out, then we have to wait that out. But I do think Bobby needs to go back inside. In terms of free agent corners, trade I really couldn't tell you. But free agent, Orlando Scandrick's out there. He's a health risk. DRC is out there still. Brashard Breeland, who I don't think is going to be on the team. There are avenues that we could go down, but I don't think it's necessarily necessary. This question comes from Corporation Gamer Incorporated. So should we make a trade that involves Devontae Parker and a draft pick for Jimmy Smith? God, no. Especially not for Jimmy Smith. If I were going to trade Devontae Parker and a draft pick, it would be somebody who I thought is super young and has a lot of upside. And that's not Jimmy Smith. So, no, I wouldn't do it for Jimmy Smith. But I wouldn't trade Devontae Parker unless it was for something. Let's see who I can think of. Like Marshawn Lattimore. But somebody a little bit more. Like James Bradbury. James Bradbury is a super underrated player who's a very, very good corner in this league. That would be something like an under-the-radar player that has a lot of upside. Jonathan Vega, he says, if we do Booty, should we fire Gase? I'm starting to think so. Depending on how the team struggles. Because I don't think we're going to do terrible because Ryan is I think Ryan is a very good player. But if the team goes 8-8 and 9-7, and it's not clear what the issue was, but if that happens, it's definitely going to be on Matt Burke. The defense is going to fail us in some close games. No, I guess it depends on how the team. Because let's say we go in 1-15, then that means the quarterback was terrible. That means the quarterback would have to be terrible, right? Then no, I wouldn't fire Gase. I would be like, just draft someone because I trust Adam Gase, and I would just say you have to get rid of Matt Burke if that happened. I mean, you just have to. So that's a very complicated, convoluted question, but I guess my answer would be no, Jonathan. Shannon Crowhorn, he says, why does ESPN hate the Dolphins so much? Seems like they've hated us for years now. I don't know. I can answer. I don't care about ESPN. ESPN makes trash content. They don't even do it. They don't do anything. The National Football League content is terrible. When you look at shows like Get Up, which is just NBA, everything's NBA now, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the New World Order, where the NBA, seriously, is not even joking, is the next big American sport. Not just that, it's a global sport at this point, but all they have is NBA experts up there and beat writers, NBA beat writers, NBA analysts. It's all it ever is, dude. So I watch the NFL Network. Let's see here. This comes from Callhern. He says, do you think Ryan Tannehill is the most underrated quarterback in the NFL? If not, who would you say is? I definitely think he's the most underrated, just because, I mean, people don't even care to watch the guy, so it's not really, let's see here. Who's, other than Tannehill, who would be the most underrated quarterback in the National Football League? I would say Russell Wilson, because he's not, I don't think people understand how good he is. If I was ranking all the quarterbacks, he would be top 3 easy. I would rather have him than Carson Wentz. I would rather have him than Drew Brees. I would rather have him than Big Ben. I think Russell Wilson is underrated in the fact that he's just not appreciated enough. This next question comes from Gamer. He says, Corporation Gamer. He says, would you want to make a trade for Anthony Barr because he's most likely won't be re-signed with the Vikings having ties? No, I don't think I need to do that. Steven says, IMO, Petty's out playing the other 2 backup quarterbacks Miami has. Yes, he is. Matthew N says, why isn't Gesicki getting any passing targets for Tannehill? I know Gase said they doesn't want to show anything in preseason, but can't just let him catch one pass. What do you think? Yeah, I was very upset that Gesicki wasn't out there the entire time. I thought he should have been out there the entire time. And penalties had a lot to do with play calling. But the argument I would have against that is, hey, just run a seam fade with him. I mean, that's not complicated. Just to get some of that, confidence, boost some confidence in these guys. But we really didn't get to see that because of all the penalties. So I don't even think it just has anything. I think it has to do with just stupidity, Matthew, to be honest with you. Matthew says, why can't Minka just play in the free safety and McCain in the slot are both better? Yeah, I think we all know that, but Matt Burke doesn't. That's Matt Burke's voice now. Matt Burke says, what areas of our team are you most concerned? Coaches can be included. I like the upside Gase offers, but I am concerned with defensive coordinator and offensive line. Not concerned with the offensive line. I think they're in good hands. But yes, this entire show has just been me crapping on Matt Burr. That's his name, Matt Burke. He just really ticks me off, dude. Sometimes he comes off as like a know-it-all, and it really ticks me off. It's like, dude, you've called plays for 1 year, and you are not good at it. And you're sitting like the clip of him pulling aside Quentin Poling, who is a rookie, and just basically the most cringiest thing ever said in a mic'd up in history of anything, saying, basically stealing some stuff that he's seen from NFL films, saying, you're gonna hate me, you're really gonna hate me, but it's something about, the whole cliche, you're really gonna hate me, but it's gonna be for your own benefit. It was just so cringy. It's like, dude, God damn, it's like, God, step down, man. Okay, the Hall of Fame speech has not come around yet. Okay, chill out. I mean, you shouldn't have these Bill Belichickian mic'd up moments yet. Let's see here. Let's see. Yeah, so I guess to answer your question, Mark, I would say it would be Matt would be my biggest concern. Philip R. Gonzalez says, Skaggs, are you concerned about the first team red zone offense? No, because we really didn't get to run anything because we were such big down and distance the entire time. Now, what I would like Adam to do is just be a little bit more aggressive on those third and longs, and second and longs. But I think I saw someone say that he's trying. I don't think Adam never said this, but somebody brought up a good point that he was protecting Tannehill because you don't want to take big hits in preseason. Corp Gamer Incorporated says, if you were to trade any corner, who would you trade for? I tried to answer that earlier. I really don't know. I think James Bradbury, but he's he's the Panthers' #1 corner, but he's super underrated. So a player like that archetype, in terms of young, one of the better corners that aren't talked about, somebody like that. It's late. I can't really think of any that aren't big names. Gamerific says, in your opinion, who will be comeback player of the year? My dude, number 17. Bobby Costas says, which rookie will have the most dominant season? Ooh, Gesicki. I think Gesicki. Minka will have a huge impact if he's played at free safety, but it won't be as people are going to talk about Mike because his position. If at his position if you have a ton of success, it's more spectacular. If you understand what I'm saying, like yards and catches and receptions and touchdowns are looked at on a higher level than some of the minute things that a safety does that are just not recognized as much as a tight end. This question comes from Douglas Ward. He says, oh god, dude, Douglas, this is long. He says, I'm not hating on my dude, but I saw an article on one of our fan base sites today that was complete garbage. It came from the New York Post and stated the Dolphins got worse this year because they lost Sue, Landry, and Pouncey. I am from New York, and I know these idiots do zero homework. It's my opinion that the replacement of this is a preacher, dude. Crap and preach, dude. Come on, Douglas, keep preaching. Replacement of Pouncey with Kilgore is an upgrade. We won 6 games last year with Cutler, who had zero heart and was garbage. Whew! Whew! Preach! We get RT17 back, added a stud DB, safety, and 2 good tight ends, and add depth at running back. I'd say we're way better than 6-10. ESPN listed says 3-13. We're 4-12. We've got better, not worse. Maybe that's the fan in me speaking. I think that ESPN has zero accountability and just plain hates the Dolphins. Plus, Quinn looks great. I say we're an 8-8 if it's a bad year, and 10-6 if things break right. Do you agree? And what is your prediction for our record? Thanks for all the podcasts. I really appreciate that comment. It means a lot, Douglas. That was a really good question. Yeah, I mean, I think we're definitely a very, very good team. I've said this in past podcasts. If we don't make the playoffs, it's because we're going to lose a lot of close games. This team is going to be very competitive. It's well coached on offense. Defensively, there's a lot of talent there. I think Matt hopefully can get his stuff together. And I think hopefully, God, please, Jesus in heaven. But yeah, I think ESPN, I don't really care. I don't watch a lot of ESPN, to be honest with you guys. Like, I don't. I really don't. If I'm watching ESPN, it's probably, what's that stupid basketball show with Rachel Nichols or whatever her name is? I can't remember. That show sucks. But the point is, ESPN is just garbage, dude. I don't know what happened to ESPN. I used to really like ESPN. I think it's because cable died, to be honest with you. I just don't watch it. I don't even know who are their analysts for football. Like, I know Bill Polian's over there, but he's almost senile at this point. Like, who is over there? Because on NFL Network, we got a ton of Hall of Famers, a lot of more sensible. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, but that was a great question. Yes, I do agree with you. I think that's unfounded and ignorant to think we're a 3-13 and 4-12 team. So yeah. Steven says, "Where is Sunday's podcast?" You're listening to it, Steven, if you got this far. Gamerific says, "Who should be the backup quarterback?" Bryce Petty. Corp Gamer Incorporated says, "Should we trade for Teddy?" Yes. I don't even think that's close. No, Douglas says no. Stu says, "One player to get traded, who and why?" JT Barrett would be. How is he playing in preseason, man? I don't know. I like JT Barrett. Who would I trade? Oh God, I would trade. Jesus, the people that I want to trade aren't worth anything. I guess nobody, dude, because what are we going to get? We're going to literally get a used toilet wipe for Stephon Anthony, and I'm talking, this is used, and it may have AIDS on it. So, we don't know, but we're pretty sure. So that's my answer. Like, if I could, it wouldn't be, like, everybody that I would want to trade has no worth. So I guess no is the answer to that question. So that has been your podcast for this week. I'm glad that I could vent for you guys. Maybe it was a little detrimental to the quality of the podcast. Things could have probably moved a little bit faster. But hey, man, that's what this show is, man. It's just a Dolphin fan talking to each other, and that's what the show should be. I have no idea why I ever took the fan Q&A out of it, because it really helps with what I'm trying to make the show into. So yeah, so I'm Skagster1083. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please support the community on this channel, support the content. It means a lot, and I will see you guys in the next one.